your silos filled with grain, but you never helped to fill my empty spoon. And when I was 10, you murdered law with courtroom politics, and you learned to make a lie sound just like truth. But I know you better now, and I don't fall for all your tricks. And you've lost the one advantage of my youth. You kill a black man at midnight just for talking to your daughter. Then you make his wife your mistress, and you leave her without water. And the sheet you wear up on your face is the sheet your children sleep on. And at every meal you say a prayer you don't believe, but still you keep on. And your money says in God we trust, but it's against the law to pray in school. You say we beat the Russians to the moon, and I say you starved your children to do it. You are far across the ocean in a war that's not your own. And while you're winning theirs, you're gonna lose the one at home. Do you really think the only way to bring about the peace is to sacrifice your children and kill all your enemies? The politicians all make speeches while the newsmen all take notes, and they exaggerate the issues as they shove it down our throats. Is it really up to them whether this country sinks or floats? Well, I wonder who would lead us if none of us would vote. Well, my phone is tapped and my lips are chapped from whispering through the fence. You know every move I make, or is that just coincidence? Will you try to make my way of life a little less like jail? If I promise to make tapes and slides and send them through the mail, and your money says in God we trust, but it's against the law to pray in school. You say we beat the Russians to the moon, and I say you starved your children to do it. You say all men are equal, all men are brothers. Then why are the rich more equal than others? Don't ask me for the answers, I've only got one: that a man leaves his darkness when he follows the sun.
Hello, everybody. Kind of an outdated tune. I understand some of it might sound a little bit leftist, but that is one of my favorite childhood artists, Larry Norman from back in the day, an excellent Christian pioneer in rock and roll. Welcome, everybody, to the show. I have Warspirit with me today. Hello, Warspirit. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are yourself, Jonathan?
I'm doing just fine. We got a lot to go over today. We got some troubles on the reservation concerning these mysterious and almost suspicious hemp houses that have popped up. We also have updates on Mr. Hero of America himself, Kyle Rittenhouse, and also an interesting bittersweet thing considering a communist who killed somebody in cold blood, how he was able to be interviewed, wasn't arrested, and then further on was killed this afternoon by federal agents in a shootout. And then we also have, what else did we have? Oh, just some other topics here, there, and that sort of thing.
Pelosi.
Oh yes, Pelosi and how she got staged. I tell you what, I almost forgot about that one. How about we roll into that?
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
So Nancy Pelosi decides, I guess, she wanted to get her hair done, and she was looking around for salons. Well, there is a right-wing leaning lady that I think it's coming out now. She actually put it out there. I forgot what kind of app or whatever some salon thing is that I guess she saw that she was wanting or whatever. I don't know how she found out that Nancy was wanting her hair done. But she said, hey, well, you can do it here. And she accepted. Well, she went into the salon with no mask on, all this. They videotaped parts of it. And then as soon as she was done, they say, hey, look, the Nancy Pelosi must think that the laws don't apply to her.
Right.
And so then she's like, well, it was a setup and all this. And then she actually had the nerve to say that salon should apologize for me because I didn't know what the law was.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so her nephew is the one that in that state that that made the COVID laws for that state and the regulations and stuff. So you'd think she would know. And there's even a better kind of touche I saw on Facebook this week saying Nancy Pelosi is trusted with top secret information, yet she can be fooled by a hair salon owner. Maybe we shouldn't trust her with top secret stuff.
Exactly. I don't know. It's very interesting. It seems to be a running theme of, well, let's say dementia, and it's almost like either one. Obviously, they've been lying this whole time, and it's just kind of coming out. But it's like Pelosi is off her rocker. She's gone. Just, I mean, maybe not as far as Biden, but she is truly insane. Something is wrong with her.
Well, she's drunk all the time.
That's what I was hearing.
She slurs her words. You can tell. Because she kind of talks like this sometimes.
Right. Yeah, she definitely knows. And it's just one of those things. It's like you can't tell when they're lying. I mean, you can tell when they're lying, but you also can't tell when they're just being actually like nuts, like when they're gone. You know what I mean?
Well, they're lying when their mouth's open.
Right. There's a lot of that.
But yeah, a lot of them they're 80 million. They're getting to be 80 million years old. It's time to retire.
Yeah, when you're getting in the range where you can, like, this isn't a good thing. When you're like, yeah, I've been in politics for 40 years, it's like, all right, bro, you've done your part. Go home.
I love how Biden tries to use that as a good thing, like a presidential thing. I've been in politics for 40 years, man. I'm like, and you haven't done anything for the country in 40 years, and now you want to be president? No.
Right. You want to lead this nation, And that kind of brings up another thing. And before we go any further, I would like to go ahead and pray.
Yes.
So, Lord, thank you for bringing us all here safely. Continue to protect us, and Lord, continue to watch over us, and just keep us in your favor, Lord. Lord, I pray for wisdom and guidance and everything that comes with it. I pray for blessing on this show. I pray that you help us, Lord, and protect us as we go forth into these dangerous and unknowing times that we're walking towards, Lord. Let us be forever grateful, even when hard times come. Help us remember to keep you in our hearts, Lord. Thank you so much, Lord, for everything you've done. Amen. So,
Amen.
And going on, it's just kind of like, I was saying that's like Joe Biden, for example. it's it's actually insane. Like, so Joe Biden was vice president of the black president, which it kind of is a counter argument. It's like, oh, this nation's so racist. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's why the quote majority vote got a black guy in there. Just saying. But anyways, nobody seemed to care about race until the Obama administration. It's like we were taking steps ahead. Nobody cared. Everything was fine. And now everything is about race from the constant race baiting from the left. And this all started under Biden's team. I know it wasn't his team, but, you know, he didn't do anything to stop it. He didn't,
right.
You know, he didn't step in. He didn't, in fact, I don't think I've ever heard him speak so much on racial equality. Now, granted, he's been on this whole, like, pushing this race baiting crap, believe it, since the 1980s. And it's like, okay.
I do know that in the place where he grew up, you couldn't go into and own a 7-Eleven unless you had a slight Indian accent.
Oh, no.
That's what he said.
Did he use the double Slurpee Gulpy cup?
He might have.
This is the Gulpy cup. You use the Slurpee cup for the slushy. Sorry. Anyways.
All I'm trying to point out is his entire career is based upon racism. Not even joking racism. Not even. I can see maybe he was taken out of context. He was making a joke. Whatever. You know, he is a racist. He thinks down on minorities, and they cannot survive without the glorious Democrat Party.
Right.
Because if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black.
Right. Which has been, by the way, for us younger folks who play video games, it has been funny executing people right after saying, you ain't black. So on and so forth. It is an interesting time we're living in, and there's just so much to kind of go over. Like, these topics are really long and out forward, you know. So, like, this whole Pelosi thing, it's like, it's kind of the same thing our governor did when she went to the jewelry shop and everybody caught on to her. Even the leftist KRQE News was like, yo, that's messed up. You know, you're not following your own rules. But
right.
So on and so forth. It's kind of nice to see when people call each other out and that sort of thing. So I think we should go ahead and hop into Kyle Rittenhouse updates. I think would be the next big one that we could go ahead and start, because there's a lot to talk about of what's been going on with him. A lot of updates considering the charges and his lawyer and all that sort of thing. So, as I understand, he, as everyone knows, he was arrested and he's still in a cell someplace, somewhere in Wisconsin.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like one of those things where he's like, why is he still locked up? This was a major flaw, according to the lawyer, considering that that's probably going to get him a few million from the city funds or whatever. It'll be the city of Kenosha paying, or
yeah, it'd be the city of Kenosha.
Yeah.
Along with that whole in the cell block. So the dangerous, scary thing is Antifa / Black Lives Matter is actively trying to find out what cell block he's in, so they can pay off inmates to kill him.
Right. And that's what I was kind of worried about. And not even to mention that, I can't help but wonder how common in these prisons and that sort of thing that it would just be for like, oh, hey, that's that guy who killed those, what the media has told me is fighting for my freedom, quote unquote. So I'm going to go kill him. And it's just dangerous. And it's very evil, this whole Antifa movement, because it's like, it's right in front of them. And as Yuri Bezmenov said, like with these communists, they cannot, and they just cannot comprehend black and white anymore. They are so mentally destroyed It's like like you said, basically, maybe not word for word, but he's like they're on a different brain wavelength. They are completely different people. They are like, dare I say it, they're subhuman. Anyways, moving along with that. So as I understand, the original charges were first-degree homicide.
Yes.
And as well as, minor with firearm was another charge. There was a few of these things, and it was like basically.
And also taking a firearm. Another charge was taking a firearm across state lines.
Right.
Which I guess in the back east is like a no-no. It doesn't even faze me in the Four Corners to take my AR wherever I want to. That's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But so the lawyer went on. He wrote an article about all this. His lawyer, the one that is representing Mr. Rittenhouse, the same lawyer that actually represented Nick Sandmann.
Okay.
And he broke down each one of the charges, actually already on Fox News also, and basically explained that they got nothing on him. So a lot of people, they think that Kyle Rittenhouse did take that rifle across state lines. That is incorrect. The rifle belonged to a friend of his that lived in the city of Kenosha.
Precisely.
So he didn't take any rifle across state lines. And in fact, he gives the rundown of that night. What had happened, actually that day, what had happened originally is Kyle was just going to go there to Kenosha to help pick up trash from the riots and actually scrub some graffiti off of the high school there in Kenosha. And he spent all day doing that with a friend. And at the end of the day, another friend of theirs informed them, hey, I have these two gas stations. Actually, I guess it was a friend of their family. I have these two gas stations. One of them halfway got burnt down last night. I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything that I have. Would you guys help me protect these places? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So his friend went to the house, got some gear for him and for Kyle, which for Kyle was just a rifle and a magazine. And Kyle already had brought a first aid kit, so he threw that over his shoulder, and they said, we're good to go. They spent most of the night at one of the gas stations, the one I think further towards the east in Kenosha. And as the police started moving through Kenosha, pushing the rioters out slowly, Kyle had noticed up the street and across the street from where they were, there was some rioters that were injured. Well, him having a big heart and being, I guess, an EMT/EMT in training, I don't know if he was actually all the way certified, but he had some training in medical. So he comes over there and actually helps some people, and then the people that he wasn't able to help, he sent them in the direction, hey, go this way, and you can get medical assistance.
Right.
But because Kyle did that, when he started walking back over towards the gas station where his buddy was, the cops had already moved past that point, and they wouldn't let him go back because they didn't differentiate him from the rioters.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, well, crap. So he went ahead and went further west to the second gas station. And he thought, well, or he was walking towards the second gas station. In the process of getting to that gas station, he noticed that some of the rioters had set some fires in front of some businesses, trying to burn them down. And he stomped out a couple of these fires. Well, that brought the attention of the rioters. Right. And it brought their wrath down upon him because it angered them that he was stopping something they were trying to do.
Right.
And then, lo and behold, the Dingwad number 1, the pedophile. Now, I don't even know his name. I don't care to know his name.
Right.
He's a dead communist now, so I'm happy.
He became a good communist today, and a good
yes,
pedo.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was the instigator of rallying the rioters, the crowd against Kyle. He started yelling and screaming. At this point, I guess his buddy had kind of made it over to Kyle because he was there in that video. And so he was instigating against Kyle and stuff. And for some reason, and this part it's not really too clear how he pushed him away from his buddy, but he pushed him past his buddy and then started attacking on him. And the whole crowd started running on Kyle. So Kyle ran through the cars at this other convenience store, and one of the rioters, fired a gun up in the air. Well, that made Kyle flip around to turn and see where the gunshot was. At that point, Mr. Pedo was right on top of Kyle and about to attack him. And so Kyle just reflexively popped him in the face, headshot.
Right.
He fell, and he's like, oh my gosh. So he called his other friend on the phone and said, I just shot somebody. And he was about to hang up and call 911 when the crowd started ascending on him again when they noticed that he shot that guy. So now he's running for his life, which poor kid,
Right.
he ain't going to win any sprints, poor Kyle Rittenhouse. I noticed that. He didn't run very fast.
Right.
But he was running as fast as he could.
Right.
And somebody runs up behind him with what looks like something in a sack or a bag and hits him with it. And then that kind of causes him to stumble, and he falls. And that's when the guy with the skateboard kicks him and then hits him over the head with the skateboard.
Right.
That's when Kyle puts one round into the skateboard guy, and then Glock guy comes up, pulls his Glock out and points it at Kyle execution style and goes for the gun, and that's when Kyle blows his bicep off.
Right.
And that was able to quell the crowd enough to where they backed off, and then, of course, he went over. Here's another fallacy. They say, "Oh, well, he just murdered people and then walked past the cops, and the cops didn't even care." He tried to turn himself in at that moment. He put his hands up in the air with his hands not on the weapon. He let the weapon dangle because he had like a 1-point harness. He had his hands in the air and walked towards the cops, and the cops just told him, "Get out of here." They were dealing with the whole riot and all that other stuff right then. They didn't have time to deal with him.
Right.
So that morning, he actually turned himself in to his hometown police in Illinois. And then, of course, the city of Kenosha, they transferred him to the city of Kenosha because that was the charges, was in Kenosha.
Right.
And there we have it.
Right. So immediately you can kind of tell, and this isn't some biased thing, this is literally, even the video showed it really well, cheers to the people recording, I guess, even though I'm sure they were communists in their own way. But they did a very good job of, if they are communists, outing themselves as in the wrong. They
right.
Because it's very clear. And mind you, 3 bullets. Like, this wasn't a mindless, like, I'm going to kill as many as I can attack. This is, 1, running away. And this, the first shot was at that guy who was right on him. And this guy was a pretty stocky dude. Look up the pedo. He wasn't exactly something that Kyle could have just smacked and got away from. This dude was, I would say, he was hyped up on meth, if anything. That dude was psycho.
In legal terms, that's actually called disparity of force.
Right, which I am wanting to find out if that comes into play. Further on, when he was hit, immediately by the skateboard and that sort of thing, when he was kicked and, he was on his ground at this point, which is another thing. It's like, well, fear for your life. You're on the ground and there's an angry mob. And mind you, he didn't just start opening up. He found out who it was. Very well done after, getting striked and all that and the confusion. Fired at the guy who hit him. Got him in the chest. And then, of course, the third guy who fainted surrendering, then came back around with the Glock. Again, like a god thing, shot him in the arm, completely freezing his ability to pull the trigger. Excuse me, I had a bit of a burp there or something. And so on. It's just so... this is just the video. Again, this is just what happened. And it really bothers me in the whole topic of things with Kyle. So, needless to say, a lot of these charges are being dropped. It just has to be. If they aren't, then we don't have justice. And put it in anybody else's shoes. Even if Kyle Rittenhouse was some rogue Antifa and he was getting chased by a bunch of red hat MAGA dudes with skateboards, it would be the same thing. It's like, well, from what we can see, this is self-defense.
Right.
And this is it's just so cut and dry of a case that it blows my mind that this is even a news story at this point, that it wasn't just dropped, that he walked free.
Right.
I get it. I get it that things need to be judged, and I do believe in trying him, sure, but get it done. What the hell are we doing here?
Well, I don't even believe in trying him, though. With all the evidence, any other normal time, if they weren't trying to pander to these leftists, the DA would have looked at it. They'd have seen the evidence. They would have looked at it and go, we can't prosecute this kid. He didn't.
Right.
As far as the letter of the law is concerned, he's actually in the right. And they would have dropped it. All charges would have been dropped. He'd have been back at his house by now.
Right.
But that has not happened. He has spent ever since he turned himself in jail. Hopefully he hasn't been accosted by any of the inmates or anything. I haven't heard anything.
Right.
I don't know if since he's 17, if he's in juvie. I know they're wanting to try him as an adult.
Right.
But I don't know if he's in juvie or if he's in the pen, the state pen there.
Right, and it's just one of those things. It's kind of heart-wrenching because he is a young guy. Yeah, and it's and I do agree with that sentiment. I'm gonna look through the comments real quick. Patriot 76, but communists aren't people; they're roaches. Kyle had every right to self-defense. I'd do the same thing. And like I said, this does tie into I don't like communists any more than the next guy, and I do, like I said, I kind of point them to being on a different brain length of sociopathy than the average human being, where their humanity is just erased. They don't have any. But we're looking at in any case, even if this was just a standard, say this was take the kung fu, what do they call it? Hold on, Karate Kid. Take that for example, except these guys had skateboards and they beat him with skateboards. Well, that kid could have, shot them skeleton boys and been done with it. It's the same thing. Bullies, And it's just, it's kind of interesting looking at this, because it is so cut and dry, simple. What are we doing here? Why is he still in jail? That's a travesty. Why is he still locked up? You have the video. You have the proof. And excuse me for saying try earlier. No, truly just kind of be like, well, we looked at the evidence. This is the ruling. Judge pounds his gavel. It's over. Get out of here. Go home. Eat with your family. You did it. It's sad what happened. You can, I'm not saying that the judge has to pick a side, but he could literally say, it's sad what happened, but you had to do it, and that just be that. You know what I mean? It's to me, it's not really sad what happened at all, but on the whole course that not everyone wants to pick a side, that's respectable in its own way. So, like, if we could just stop pandering in the justice system, that'd be really great. Because this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. But if we're completely honest, like, I've lost faith in the justice system long ago. Which points kind of towards, like, the whole defund thing, like, quote-unquote. It's like, yeah, go ahead. Let's get a privatized police force going. That'll be great.
Right.
Or even further, it's like, I mean, anybody remember Ruby Ridge? That, I kind of don't mind my taxes not paying for Ruby Ridge.
Well, could you imagine a privatized police force? John Moberg, there's somebody, outside your house, and you call 911, and a nice young lady answers and says, yes, Mr. Moberg, I see you're on our list here. I see you're at the bronze plan, so that's going to be an hour and a half until we're able to get to you. Now, if you want to upgrade to the silver plan right now, we can cut that time in half. Do you have your credit card with you?
Right. That's a funny name that you came up with on the fly. I like that. Moberg. Heard of that. Yeah. Anyways, going on with that, we have just, like that, like, let's stay on this for a minute. It's, like, so crazy to me. Yeah. And, yeah, a privatized police force would be funny. It's like, help me, I just got robbed. What service do you have? Do you have the platinum or the gold? Or, really, what it might turn into is a modern-day shogunate, is what I was kind of joking about, because it was like, yeah, the president's doing his thing, but who really will control the country is the armed police force, PMC, that, Mick Justice System from the McDonald's corporate. Because they got rid of the dollar menu, now they have to start opening their eyes to policing, because, they defunded the police, so now somebody's got to defend the McDonald's, Who knows? But it's just kind of like, I do get a kick out of it. Like, part of me is like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool to have privatized police, but another part of me is like, that would be ugly, in a way. But at the same time, you put it very well, Warspirit. People not everybody needs the police. Put it that way, like me and you, we don't need them. Like,
yeah, I was in an argument.
I'm not saying that, like, police are bad, and I think it's nice, but, like, me and you in our situations right now, we don't technically need the police. That's not a bash on cops, but we don't technically need them.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, for me, the cops are going to be called after I take care of whatever problem arises. Just so, for example, if I have somebody show up at my house and they break down my door in the middle of the night because they're high on drugs or whatever, well, they're getting 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, and then I'm going to call the police and say, hey, there's a dead guy in my house.
Right. And so on and so forth. And that's just kind of what I'm getting at. And it's like, I do believe the police are necessary for a lot of people, especially in this generation, good Lord. But going on that note, it's like the whole defund the police thing, like, it can be quickly translated as they want to abolish the police, which is, like, not something they want to do. Because, it's so many, I can tell that tensions are high. Even from comments and stuff we receive, tensions are through the roof. If not for the police, there's no doubt in my mind that this whole communist invasion nonsense would be over with in an instant. Like, it would probably be a week's worth of time, and Antifa would be nothing but a footnote in the book of history.
Mm-hmm.
It probably wouldn't even be written down at this point. It would just be like, they were there, then the police disappeared, and then there was nothing, like, nobody talked about Antifa anymore. It was just gone. And,
right.
That's just because we are, and everybody who's on our side is law-abiding right now. And when those gloves come off, it's free game, which isn't something that I exactly want to see happen. But it is something, it's like, well, let's remember who is protecting who here. The police ain't protecting me right now,
Right.
They definitely are keeping Kyle Rittenhouse locked up. That's a for sure.
Did you see the meme with President Trump and Kyle Rittenhouse, and it's they're photoshopped together because they obviously haven't met each other yet. But Trump's shaking his hand and says Trump meets the entire Kenosha police force.
Right. Yeah, I have seen that. And that's true. It's like, well, truly, even as a conservative, I can say that the Portland and Kenosha police are about as worthless as bull titties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't stop this from happening. They didn't listen to the kid. And granted, I understand that I can't blame them for that much, but let's put things into perspective here. Why is he still locked up? They're pandering.
Right.
The justice system isn't blind, which is bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
The justice, Miss Lady Justice, is not, she's not being treated with respect at all. She and all that, the justice system in place right now, like I mention Ruby Ridge again, that's still the same one in power. And if the movement was truly about a reform in these areas, I could get behind it. But it's not. It's just a Marxist ploy to undermine everything this nation stands for and kill innocent people. These are hostile people, man. They are evil, truly.
You know what I want reform? If you're going to want to reform the police or whatever, what I want reform is don't turn law enforcement into revenue generators.
Right.
That's the reform I want. I don't want Mr. Police officer to be in downtown Aztec below the speed trap hill, hiding by the cottonwood tree with his radar gun, clocking everybody as they go down the hill.
Right.
Which happened this week. And car after car after car got pulled over, including one of our girls at the office. She was quite upset about that. So, but that to me, that's so you purposely make a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit down a steep hill. Yeah. This long stretch of road. And see, used to it, the speed limit actually didn't start until the hill flattened out. They actually moved it back all the way up towards they moved it all the way up to the Coke yard, that our third yard there, at the bottom.
I have a video on my page, by the way, everybody. I believe it's still available in public. It's called "Welcome to the Four Corners." So if you want to get kind of like a grasp on... my gosh, I haven't even been drinking tonight and I can't speak. Call it tired. If you want to get a grasp on like what the Aztec Police Department is like, you want to talk about some like rapid response because there's nothing going on. Like everyone's like, oh, they were there we did have a school shooting in Aztec, by the way. But... It was and they were there within like 60 seconds, and everyone's like, oh, they were there so quick, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, it's because nobody's burning stuff in Aztec. Nobody gives a crap. It's just rich suburban hood over that way.
It's Barney Fife in Mayberry. That's Aztec.
Yeah, except like Barney Fife and Mayberry are completely crooked and don't have a moral compass for the most part. At least when it comes to money. I mean, I don't think they'd like kill anybody for no reason, but they don't mind robbing you blind and all that.
Well, Barney Fife was trying to give people tickets all the time for jaywalking and stuff. So
you're right. You're right. There you go. Yeah, jaywalker. It's kind of funny. I don't really see people walking around in Aztec. Anyways, to stay on topic, there was an individual. I really can't remember his name. Was it Roland? Was that the guy who was shot, the Trump guy? Or was that the Antifa guy?
I honestly don't remember either one of them
names
right important. Now.
So there was an individual.
The shooter was named Daniel something, I think.
I don't know. But to avoid confusion, there was an incident kind of like let's say the left was pretending to have their own Kyle Rittenhouse, right? This Caucasian individual with a BLM tattoo up his neck. The video pretty much just shows somebody yell, "Hey, there's a Trumper over here! There's a Trumper over here!" And then this supposed alleged Trump supporter, that's not even clear, was shot dead by this individual with the tattoo and all that. This individual didn't turn himself in. He kept going, and later was interviewed by CNN, NPR, and other left-wing outlets of media. And it's just kind of a travesty to me that it's like, oh yeah, this guy is just running around, all this, that, and the third, doing interviews while Kyle Rittenhouse is like locked up. You know, and don't get me wrong, that's because he didn't turn himself in, and these news outlets didn't feel a moral obligation to turn him in either.
Mm-hmm.
Which is disturbing. I mean, like, I'm all for the free press, and I'm all for, like, somebody doing some, like, I mean, that's how, like, free press works, you know? Like, in China, they, like, blur people's faces out when they're speaking against the government. Like, I get that. You know, you don't turn them into the Chinese government. I get that. But, like, when you're presented with the video proof and this, that, and the, you know, this, that, and the other, you hold on to this and you're just like, well, this is our hero. This is our best chance at getting back at Kyle Rittenhouse, you know? That's all I can tell. That's all I can figure that they're doing. And it's kind of sickening. It's absolutely sickening and just kind of frustrating. But in a bittersweet twist, he was confronted by federal agents because the Portland police, this is where this happened at, was Portland, by the way. The Portland police didn't really care. As you know, as you can tell with Portland, the police over there really don't care about anything. I mean, I swear, it's like, as long as you don't say something mean to somebody, the Portland police won't bother you.
Right.
You know, like, you know, as long as you're not saying things that might not fit the mayor's agenda or whatever, who knows what, you'll be fine. But go ahead and shoot a Trump supporter, you know, you're good. It's okay. So federal agents came down, found him, and he immediately opened fire on them at a estimated 40 to 50 rounds from him alone that hit nothing. And he was either struck or shot. It's not really clear. Different news outlets say different things, and they keep using the word struck, and they also, some have said the word shot. But in any case, he's dead. So, you know, we celebrate one more terrorist, you know, and that's not just because, oh, he's part of Antifa, I'm glad he's dead. It's because he was, you know, what he did. Look at him, you know, it's like, whoa. It's actually insane. But anyways, he was either struck or shot and killed by federal agents, I believe this morning or yesterday morning.
It was yesterday.
Okay, I'm not really sure. Yesterday morning. And, well, that's that. It's cut and clean. And now, you know, there's no doubt in my mind, because the left have already kind of hailed him as a martyr now, and they're going to try to, but the differences are clear. This wasn't self-defense. He heard that there was a Trump supporter, shot him dead, kept running, went to the media, probably in a bid for his life to try and defend himself. Even his sister, in reference to the whole incident, said, my brother is not the kind of man that can responsibly handle a hectic situation like a rally or protest. He should have been the first one to stay far away.
Right.
And all these things add up in this just cacophony of flustercluck. And truly, I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad that the threat is eliminated. And that's that. But I'm also kind of like, I'm just kind of like angry that, like, you know, it's like a part of us was killed for no reason today, which was bound to happen after Kenosha. Mind you, they see those three people as martyrs. So radicalization is upwards in scale, and this is healthy and bad. You know, some might call me an accelerationist, but truly, the faster this gets over with, the sooner we can concentrate on other things. And really what it's looking like is this brick wall that's coming in November, is that we have untamed, uncontrolled, rabid Marxist terrorists in our streets, in our homes, in our backyards, even in our rural areas, pointing and destroying property, defacing property like an Aztec today, just completely wreaking havoc, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. Because they don't listen to reason, they don't listen to law, they don't care what we say. It's coming to the point where if Trump wins, they're going to kill more people, and if Biden wins, they're going to kill a lot more people. It's just, because then they'll have the president on their side. That's the one thing that's keeping this whole conservative side afloat, really, is that Trump kind of beats around the bush. I don't really like it, but he is, for the most part, on our side, at least from what he says. And it's kind of weird because, again, he's not really talking about all of this. This is what the nation is wondering about, yet the president isn't talking about it. And I know that he's probably playing some 4D chess, bro. It's 4D chess. But where's the comment? Where is the morale? This nation needs morale. Your people, Trump, your people, I'm talking about the right of this nation, need to be reminded that America is still standing. Because as of right now, it's, by all intents and purposes and visualizations, it's toppling bad. On the social scale, on the economic scale, on every scale we can see, we have been successfully destabilized.
So, John, question for you. Are you saying that all this stuff Trump is blaming on George W?
It's Bush's fault, isn't it?
You said beat around the bush.
Oh, come on now. We're all talking about the destabilization of America, and Warspirit's in here with the dad joke. Tactical dad joke incoming! Bwomp, bwomp.
You gotta keep it lighthearted or you're going crazy.
And that's a really good point, Nicholas. He made a comment. I don't think Biden will be completely on their side. He is not really a far left guy. He's just pandering to them for votes. I don't know if he will maintain that if he is elected. So let's say I don't.
Yes,
think
he is a far left guy. He is a far left guy.
And that's one of the things. He's too dimensional.
And he's not the one that's going to have control.
No.
He is out of his mind. It's going to be Miss Get on Your Knees Kamala Harris.
Right.
She is extreme far leftist.
But
she's going to be the one in control if she wins.
Realistically, even with all that, it's like it almost seems pointless to theorize about it. And maybe we should, just in case. But I really, really, really don't think Biden's going to get anywhere in this election.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, man. I don't think he will. I'm sorry. I don't think most of this nation is black.
I don't think they are either.
Right.
And the ones the ones that are of more melanin in their skin, if they vote for Trump, they're not black either.
I know. That's why I said it. They ain't black.
No.
And
the blacks. The Spanish. The Latinos, they're very diverse, unlike the African Americans. The blacks.
Right. And I think my AC is interfering with the microphone income. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick. Doggone it. I would have really liked to be able to have my AC. It was getting a little toasty. I had to turn it off because I'm back to one AC by my television system. But it is what it is. So, let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, Biden's kind of just the standard Democrat that's being honest. I don't think he has enough brain capacity to even tell, what an Antifa is. All he knows is that it's against the Republicans, so he's going to be like, yeah, those guys are good. And that's about as deep as it gets for him, I think. But that doesn't make him a good guy by any means. It just makes him, senile, as always. I don't really see Biden as a threat, to put it that way, because it's just not even the standard left is like pro-Biden. They're just stuck with him, especially in the two-party system and all that.
Well, people that make that excuse are probably actually going to vote for him.
Yeah, because anyone
they're like,
oh,
he's not. Yeah, he's not actually a far leftist, so I'm going to vote for Biden. Nah, that's bullcrap.
Yeah, and let's put it this way as well. You're looking at people who might actually just feel inclined to just not vote this year. Because, I mean, you know, we looked at Trump and Hillary. It's like, you know, we really did. We're like, well, anyone but Hillary. And now they're kind of like, oh, God, Biden? Oh, no. You know, they're stuck with an even worse predicament. Now, because there's no doubt in my mind, most of this nation, I don't know how Trump got nominated as primary other than just kind of like being a total awesome, witty crap talker. But, you know,
he says what the rest of the nation's thinking.
He really would, too. Like, you know, the main reason I voted for Trump, and yes, you can record that as fact that I voted for Trump in 2016.
As did I.
Was it 20? What? What year was 2016?
2016.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I voted for Trump in 2016. And then after all that in the third, I was kind of thankful. But the reason I did was because he really did do an awesome job of explaining how he was going to defend churches. I would like to see that come true in the light of this COVID thing. Because in California, it has gone completely dystopian that way. Can't sing in church, can barely attend, so on and so forth. Textbook dystopianism, so on. That's how it is. And I don't know. It's just, I'm hoping Trump does the right thing. I'm hoping he's got some trick up his sleeve, but this nation right now is dwindling in the whole morale. And when hope starts to run dry, people become irrational. And that's in both sides. So it's definitely one of those things, watch and pray, but also, you know, do what you can to suit what your interests would be, you know, on the whole moral scale.
And yeah, exactly. I truly think that, you know, Trump is going to win, pretty much, unless we have rampant cheating from the Dems. That's the reason why they're wanting to do the mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
If they get mail-in ballots, then yeah, they might have a chance to win.
Truly.
But if in a fair election, Trump is gonna win again, which I'm very happy for.
I don't know. I wish I could just smoke some hemp and relax.
Some hemp, yes. Speaking of hemp,
yeah.
You might want to actually smoke cannabis, which both are supposedly maybe being grown on the Navajo Nation right now.
Right, in massive droves. Not just little bitty pop
extreme farm. Massive droves. And I wasn't even aware of this. But apparently, from Hogback all the way to
like Shiprock past almost.
Past Shiprock, there are greenhouses, and I mean big greenhouses.
Yeah.
And they're lined up like 50 or 60 of them in a line on both sides of the highway.
Yeah. They are huge compounds.
And get this. They are not being run by natives.
Yeah. There is
I thought you had to be native to work on the Navajo Nation, John.
Right? Well, apparently they're calling to their ancient ancestors, the Mongolians, because the Chinese are running it right now.
Yep, no joke. We have Chinese workers running these, working in these big greenhouse hemp factories / probably cannabis. They're labeled as hemp, but I have a pretty good sneaking suspicion from some other friends of mine talking to them in the Navajo Nation that there's cannabis too.
Right. And, and let's hope that, like what the product is truly cannabis. Because this thing reeks of something more sinister than cannabis.
Right.
Like there is something creepy as all get out. And somebody brought up, this is what it looks like. I don't think so, but it's not beyond all possibilities. Somebody was like, what if it's concentration camps and stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to say that, but could have fooled me if I didn't know what a greenhouse looked like. But let's put it this way. It is unbelievably just eerie out that way. So we actually drove out there yesterday evening. Me and Warspirit did. And this is where I got this photo that's up there right now. I got a few video feeds that I'll work on editing as well. But we pulled into, there's a set of them right of the bridge in Shiprock. It's, I'd say, kind of maybe the second largest bunch there is there. We approached the dirt road that leads to them, and we parked out there, and we're kind of looking to see how we'd get to the greenhouses to just, check them out and that sort of thing. And we immediately were stopped in our tracks by this kind of a Che truck. An old Chevy, or was it old Ford something?
No, it was a Dodge. It was a green Dodge diesel.
Green Dodge diesel, in which we pulled back and we sat outside for a moment. And then, I can't remember, he's stopped, right? Anyways, he passed us, this truck, and then as we were leaving, he pulled off to the left and then got behind us further up the road.
Right. And he took an out further up towards because we took the road going towards Toyac.
Right.
And he pulls out and sees us and gets in behind us, and I was like, "Oh, you sneaky, sneaky snake!"
Right. And so we started doing things like slowing down, way down, and he'd slow way down with us. That sort of thing. And it's like, oh, Dene Benali has shooters out here. We see.
Yep. So I just pulled over. I'm like, well, let's see you make your move there, Hoss. And that sneaky snake, instead of pulling in over where we were, he pulls across the highway and onto a dirt road into a ranch opening that's got a no trespassing sign on it. So we couldn't go in there. And he pulls over and stops just down the road.
Right. And
just waits.
And then so we take off in the other direction and we do some scouting on other greenhouses along the way.
Right.
And that's where we saw our first Chinaman out there directing, others.
Yeah, I kind of felt like Brandon Fraser on where he gets in the time capsule. They think there's a nuclear war.
Right. Yeah.
And he sees the African American and he's like, "Oh, my lucky stars."
Yeah. Well, what made you feel that way?
Well, because we saw a Chinaman. I don't ever see Chinamen around
it's
here.
very rare,
Oh, my lucky stars, a Chinaman!
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's one of them. And so, we're seeing this and we're like, wow, and it's not an issue with China. It's just
no.
What? Why?
It's not. No, let's rephrase that. It's not an issue with Chinese people. It possibly is an issue with China.
Right.
The country.
Precisely. And it is odd seeing Chinese individuals running these farms, operating them. And as far as I knew, one, you had to be native to work on the reservation. Two, you had to be native to operate a farm on the reservation. And let's explain, entirely in context, what the people of Navajo think. They don't like them.
No.
From what I've seen. They don't like this. This is all under the order of the president of the San Juan River Farm Board of the Navajo Nation, Dene Benali.
Right.
Benali, excuse me.
But see, that's how they get by with it, though. John he's native. They're just working under him.
Right. And so we're going on with this. This guy, starts this rampant projection, and he's like, hemp is going to save the reservation. This is his big thing. There's a bunch of like signs and stuff out there that are like, hemp is jobs, hemp is this, that, and the third. It's like, then why don't you employ natives? You know, that's
Hey,
my
we saw a couple natives.
Yeah, a couple. But from
the fella driving the diesel was, I think, a native.
Who knows? He must have a few. But, you know, he's obviously ordered some cheap labor from foreign nations. And it's interesting because what really called people's attention to these greenhouses was water shortages.
Mm-hmm.
You know, imagine being a farmer and you're trying to water your crops and all your water has been taken for some farm.
All of a sudden you don't have enough to run your sprinklers and you're like, what the heck? What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? So that's what really brought the community to start speculating what's going on in the reservation. And we might be a bit late to all this, but not too late as they're still constructing a crap ton of these greenhouses.
No, I still think we're still in the early stages of it. They're not done building. They're going to keep going, unfortunately. But there's people that are in opposition. If you look at our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/ITTDM, we have a story on it, several stories, one lady that wrote, and then one that John wrote, just kind of explaining what's going on with this. And how we, as a community, need to help out the Navajo Nation.
Right. We're here. We stand with the Navajo people.
We do.
And I'm seeing a pillaging scumbag who wants to line his pockets with farmers or at the cost of innocent farmers across the reservation. And I see suspicious amounts of Asian workers. You know, like, it's like if they were just here, like, you know, and I understand that. I'm all for Chinese people coming down here and working. That's cool as all get out. That's what this nation's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they built our railroads.
But this is outright, like, I can't help but wonder if this is sweatshop type thing going on right over here.
It is, man. I swear. So there's been other comments on our page, and they said there's been people, like Chinese people, coming into Farmington to go into these different stores, and they just reek of marijuana, and you can tell they haven't been bathing, and they look homeless, and all this other stuff, and the living conditions out there. I've heard other people say, and it looks like it's actually gotten a little bit better since this has happened, because we saw another place where they have these is right across the bridge, in Shiprock, right there, right in the river bottom. And that's actually where we tried to go, where the diesel guy chased us out.
Right.
And you can see the tan buildings where the, I guess, the living quarters for the workers are, from what I assume that is. But I was told before they built those, and I was told that just today, what they did is they just bought up a whole bunch of just crappy single-wide trailers from out on the res.
Right.
And pulled them all up, cut a hole in one of the rooms, and that's where everyone was just pooping down through the bottom of the trailer.
That's bad. And I believe it. You know, this is a shoddily ran scam at its finest.
Yeah.
And, well, that's at its finest. I don't even want to go into the worst. I mean, let's start off with this, right? The Navajo Nation was like top of the nation. Top of the entire United States when it came to like COVID rampancy. You know what I mean? How interesting that the COVID
Where did that virus come from?
Where did that virus come from? Warspirit? What?
China. China. China.
It's kind of racist. You can't be saying that. I mean, it's kind of.
It's not racist because it comes from China.
Right. And I'm just kind of like, oh, well, bing! You know, Detective Sherlock on the case. Where did that come from? You know, I was just kind of like, well, there's your answer, Navajo Reservation. The literal carriers moved to you probably first at that rate. Like, I don't know how long this has been going on, but like, yeah, it's like I can't help but wonder if the infection in the United States, no offense to the native reservation, started in the Navajo reservation. Not because of
Right.
the Navajos, but because of Denae Benally.
Right. I heard tell that he brought them in, and they started construction right in late January. So that goes along with this whole timeline. I swear, I'll bet you some of these people had the virus, whether if they were asymptomatic or whatever, and they shed that on to the Navajo people.
Right, which then, because Navajos, just like all Americans, enjoy to travel. And they wouldn't know any better, but, these Chinese folk are probably poor, they're looking for new avenues, and I kind of feel pity. I'm not hateful towards people who want to make their way in this nation. I am, however, a bit disgusted when a so-called leader of the people, say Denae Benally, sells out his people, sells out his land, and basically sells his soul to China in order to build massive farms to line his own pockets at the cost of the locals in this area.
You know what it reminds me of, John? We were talking about it earlier. It reminds me of the main bad guy on Longmire.
Oh, no.
Denae Benally is Richard Nighthorse.
If anybody watches Longmire, that would be quite the joke.
That's quite the diss.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty much on point too. It's rough, but scouting out there was pretty interesting. And it kind of makes me wonder, because Denae Benally has hired, because other people want to check these out. Navajos care about their land for good reason. Mm-hmm. It's their land. And they're trying to hold on to their traditions and what makes it their land. And so on and so forth. They try to check these out. Denae Benally employed people. And again, people have said they've been ran off by Chinamen and Navajos alike. They get harassed out of there. It's like, no, you can't come in this way. And I understand it's private property, by all means. But if he wants to maybe ease minds a little bit, he should let a media crew, I'm just saying I'm willing to go, but he should let a media crew go in there and kind of clear things up, because even some people, there's been white vans driving around the reservation, and there's been kids disappearing, and then all of a sudden you have these massive tent complexes with a bunch of people who aren't from this area. People are going to speculate. So that's the worst case scenario, is that there might be a trafficking thing going on. I'm not going to say that, but maybe.
These white Quonset hut looking things, you could fit a lot of people in one of those, couldn't you, John?
You sure could.
Yeah,
far enough away, nobody would hear you scream.
That's right.
And even that, let's trust the police of the reservation to be any good. I heard screaming coming from one of the greenhouses. Yeah, we'll be there in about an hour. It's Navajo time. So,
right.
Take it for what it's worth. And even, from what I've talked to most natives, they really don't like the police out there. It's because they're useless and they're biased. Again, they're
let's
working
face
for
it,
somebody.
a lot of them, there's been proof.
Yeah.
The Navajo police, a lot of times, not all of them, I'm sure there's some good ones out there, but you want to talk about a police force that actually needs reformed, is the Navajo police.
Well, and this is all just the cost of what socialism has done to that poor reservation. And I want to kind of make that a standing point of our mission goal, right? So our mission as we are Americans, like blue-collar Americans, as freedom-loving people, as capitalists, is we want everyone to have the same freedoms and liberties that we do. We want everyone to live under the same laws that we want to live under. We want everyone to obey the same things that we have to obey. Right. And that we want to be obedient to. I'm not saying that they obey us and what we believe. I'm just saying, like, for example, free markets. We don't want that just for white Americans. We want that for all Americans. native, black, white, whatever. So I look at the reservation and my heart hurts a little bit because I see a nation that has been so deceived by the leaders of this nation as well as the leaders of their own nation into believing this whole very socialist way of living. If you want to see what a Soviet system would look like in rural America, go to your local reservation.
Yep.
It's everything. Yeah, sure, housing is government provided, but it ain't great. Police, good luck. Good luck. Baseball fields, recreation, nah, don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I my heart sank because in this picture, is this the one? No, this isn't the one.
No.
This is so the one in actually in the middle of town there.
Yeah.
Just to the right of all of the houses and everything, that's actually where the Shiprock baseball fields are. And I'd never been down in that way. So as we drove down there, I was like, oh, that's kind of, interesting. I didn't know there was baseball fields down here. You get up there, and I didn't even recognize that they were there. And John's riding with me, and he looks on, he's all, see the baseball fields? I'm like, oh, man. They were all overgrown with weeds. There was graffiti. They were run down. It was just a dirt lot. There was no grass. It was sad.
Yeah, and that's just again. So I see again socialist politicians doing whatever they want with all the power that's been given to them at the cost of their people, running amok, lining their own pockets while their own people starve. And that angers me. And this is close to home. In Farmington, we got it pretty nice here. But the reservation, how come they don't? And a lot of them think that it's like, oh, well, the white man took that from us. It's like, no. Maybe, well, I guess, yeah, it is the white man that introduced you to socialism, and your government was like, yeah, that sounds like it. And truly, it's literally how it works in their society is like they have to take care of the baseball fields. Well, nobody wants to do that, and nobody has the time to. They're busy, trying to feed themselves.
Well, actually, here's how it works in a communist society.
Right.
And if you're Native American and listening to this, just hear me out here. They get a certain amount of money that they're supposed to spend on the people, because that's the big communist thing is we take care of the people. But you see, you end up getting people in leadership that or have control of this money, like Mr. Benally, that does not give two rips about the people.
Let's clarify.
And he takes.
There's a lot of Benalis.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, B'nai Benali. I figured y'all knew who I was talking about.
I'm sure you do, but in case somebody joined in, and is like, I didn't do anything.
I didn't do nothing. And all the Yazzies out there. Just kidding. No. But no, but I can't even talk now.
I'm sorry, but no.
B'nai Benali, he took all that money that he was supposed to put in the farms and all this stuff. I'm sure that the U.S. government's given him, and he's sticking it in his pocket, and he's taking that money and he's making these hemp farms and making more money off of that. And he's not the only one to do that. The Navajo president this last time that. Before the elections come out. Sorry, that was a burp. You remember I'm talking about all the corruption with that, John?
Yeah.
Remember? And this was the Navajo president, and he was come out with all kinds of corruption. So the leadership in the Navajo Nation have been corrupt for decades.
It's bad.
Navajo people, you need to take this back. And this is what you get with socialism. The high-ups live fat on the hog. The peasants get nothing.
Right.
There is no middle class in socialism.
I was about to say, I'm all for you guys in your social movements when you want to talk about living in America and that sort of thing. I'm all for it. It's what we're about. Because as I said, I want you to have the same rights and privileges that I do, and the ones that I want. You know what I mean? I want you guys to have everything that I want and more. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like everything that I would get if I could get whatever I want you to have it as well if you want it. And like what I'm looking at is like a free market and freedom. And on the reservation, they have so little. It's disgusting. And so the first thing you need to do, because that's what the whole president of the reservation is supposed to do, is speak for his people on the scale of the United States. These individuals of these presidents, there seems to be 12 presidents in the Navajo reservation, the president of the farming, the president of the reservation, the president of res dogs, I don't know. But
we saw one of those.
Yeah, they live they live at the gas station right on that road, by the way. But the first thing that you guys need to do, and I want to make it clear, I get nothing from this. Us conservative white men, as you've been told by your government and that sort of thing, get nothing from you. Like we're not what's the term? Exploiting you. We're not.
And we're not profiting from you.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I want you to live out the dream that you have. Whatever you want. And here's the thing. Here's another problem with socialism, John. Yeah. And you mentioned, that they're them living out there. So when you are a native and you live on the reservation, yeah, you get a place to live, and you get an area that you're allowed to live, but it's not yours.
Right. Which is
so you do not take ownership of that. I'm gonna channel the great Jocko Willink here again for a minute. Taking ownership of something means it's a very liberating thing. Because when you're taking ownership of a piece of property that you own, that means that's mine. I get to do what I want with this piece of property. Now there is, the BS that the government steps in with some regulations and stuff in certain cities and stuff, which I disagree with altogether. But still, it's even, if it's truly a piece of property like any other American would buy, you own that. So if you want to build a cabin there, or a house, or an outbuilding, you can. But the Navajo Nation won't let you do that.
Right. And it's just kind of getting into, you people need to stand up for your rights. As a people, you need to stand up to be able to own your land, to be able to profit on the reservation, to be able to make your life and your dream the way you see fit. And not have this government entity come along and steal your water from your farms that you have worked so hard to obtain. You don't need this government entity to say, well, I know it's hard, but that's what it's going to be. That is tyranny. And as I'm not a Native American, but as an American, I stand alongside you to do whatever is necessary to get your land where you want it to be.
Right.
To get your freedoms and your liberties on the same level that I would want mine to be. Because you are, in my eyes, a fellow American.
And with that, though, I'll give this caveat to y'all that are natives that are listening out there. You've gotten this free government check for decades, and you think it's a good thing because I'm getting this free money. No, it's not. Because all they're doing is giving you just enough to live. Just enough to get by.
While they are rolling in the dough.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, no, they're willing to donate a little bit to you. Just enough. Enough that they can afford of your money.
Right.
This is your money we're talking about. And giving it to foreigners, not even the white man. They're reaching all the way to Asia, dude.
Yeah.
And they ain't giving them much either. I'm about to say, if you want to fight a social injustice for a race that's not your own, I'd suggest try to fight for those poor Chinamen being worked like slaves out that way.
Right.
But as for your own people, you are in danger. The Dene Benali and everything I've read, there is some serious nasty crap going on. And as you understand, the river is kind of sacred to these people. It's fed their farms. It's cultivated their land. It's kept Shiprock alive. And another thing that has happened is that these farms have thrown sewage in them. In the river.
Yep. They're throwing sewage from the workers into the river.
Right. They're destroying other farms and harassing other farmers. And again, to point towards socialism, these Dene Benali workers came along to a farmer and said, hey, after you're done with your field, you should flatten ours too. And I don't know if that was like you have to or what, but, you know, we're kind of going into like some weird territory here where it's like, just how bad is it out there? How bad has their government made it? How bad has our government made it? You know, like I'm not going to point all the blame to them because, I mean, shoot, it was Andrew Jackson that freaking put them there in the first place. That
what political affiliation was Andrew Jackson?
If you don't vote for him, you ain't black. But Andrew Jackson is a Democrat.
That's right, John. The same as Joe Biden. So if you are championing, same as Dene Benali. So if you're championing, Joe Biden as a U.S. president, you are championing Dene Benali. You are championing Andrew Jackson. You are championing all of the leftist Democrat bullcrap, right along with the New Deal, right along with what caused the Great Depression, right along with what still had blacks as slaves.
Yep.
That is all on you.
Tooth and nail. So I'm not, I'm going to leave some room for, for change. Because a lot of people will go into like, oh, no, I don't support that, this, that, and the third. But, when you're provided with this, there is room to make a difference. And I'm not saying you have to be Republican by any means. I'm not saying that you have to be Republican. I'm not saying that you even have to be an American conservative. All I'm saying for the Native people, if you care about that small piece of land that has been yours for so long now, you need to rise up. And I'm not saying violently. I don't know. That's your land. You do whatever you see fit. But here's the thing. I see tyranny, and I am well familiar with it. I've had 12 years in my belt studying what freedom is and what tyranny is. And I can tell you right now, the Navajo Reservation has been ruled by some crooks, and so has America. I'm just going to put that out there. But start
including Andrew Jackson.
Let's go ahead and, as Jordan Peterson would say, start with making your bed. And I think the best way to do that in a metaphorical sense, start by making your nation. Start by fixing it. And then, once you've fixed your nation to be exactly what you want it to be, kids are fat and happy. You know what I mean? The dream. Once you've done that, now it's time to move about and start changing the world. And that's what I kind of want the mission statement to be for any Native listeners, is like, take back your freedoms. Take back what has been stolen from you, and don't listen to the lies, because there's a lot of lies. Like, I saw there's one of these people that was like, they were posting like, why is my water out? Why is my farm, suffering? What's going on? And people were like, oh, you're just one of those traitor natives. You're just trying to get rid of the hemp because you don't like the reservation or some other weird stuff like that. Basically the equivalent of Democrats calling black conservatives Uncle Toms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, I just was wondering why my farm is suffering. Like, isn't my representative supposed to protect me and represent me in my interests? They're supposed to, but that sort of thing.
But you don't have as big of a bank account as Mr. Dene.
Yeah, truly. And let's put it this way. And somebody brought up this point. What if the Navajo Nation wants independence? By all means, secede. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's against it. Go ahead. Take your land, make it what you want to be. If you want to secede. I'm all for it. I mean, you want to be your own nation of Native people. You no longer want to live under the thumb of America? Secede. I'm all for that. And I will give you a caveat with that, though.
You're going to need to have a passport and a visa to go to Walmart.
Well,
just saying.
Yeah, but once you get your
I've said that for years for the Jicarilla.
Yeah. Right.
See, the Jicarilla Apaches, they're even worse because
in what regards?
They can well, for hunting ways. This has always irked me. So, as a white man, for me to come on the Hickory Apache Nation and hunt an elk, it would cost me $75,000.
Right.
No joke. Now, a Hickory Apache citizen can hunt an elk on Apache land and still put in for the draw on our land. So I've always said, well, then why don't we charge them the same that they charge us? Just make it, whatever price you decide you want to charge me is the same price you're going to be charged. Fair is fair. Then they would lower the price to hunt on their land. Also, a Hickory Apache Nation, if I'm going to hunt on there, I have to have a Hickory Apache resident or citizen guide me. So if you're going to come hunt on our property, the U.S. property side, then you're going to have to hire a white boy. Fair
Right.
is fair.
And so on and so forth. That's how, fair is fair. And, somebody's like going off in the comments here, it's all Nick. And he was saying, it is our land, we want it. Who makes secession something people can do, we may as well toss our country out the window because natives have claims over our entire nation. I'm like, yeah, well, good luck with that on that same note. And, like if you want to go with the secession route, your nation is yours. But if you start, saying you want to take over the states, good luck. Is all I can say with that. That's any nation that would want to take over this nation.
Oh, yeah.
Chinese. It's like, oh, well, we take claim over your land, says China. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Good luck with taking over the United States, including fascists.
Yeah, right. Especially.
Uh-huh.
And that sort of thing. And so, yeah, and that's kind of the same thing, too. Is like, I don't know why people can't wrap their heads around it, that socialism is a disease. And it doesn't matter if it comes from a right-wing dictator or a left-wing prime minister. It's outright evil. Forcing people out of their camps and into reservations for, I understand, fighting a war, understandable, you're fighting a war and you have to get rid of hostile ones, but forcing entire droves of people out of their homes into these lands that are barren and awful is just, that's not conquering, that's just cruelty. It's humiliation. And I get it, that whole enemy sort of thing, but at the same time, I really, really hate what Andrew Jackson did. I've lived with Native Americans my entire life, and I have seen a hard-working people. I have seen a hard-working, persevering, willing to learn, able people. And I've seen tyranny from all sides. And, when their own people, just like us, when our own Americans turn against us, we have to take a stand.
Correct.
And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, this isn't a race thing. This is about righting wrongs across history. But I also believe in kind of the concept of getting rid of the Navajo reservation as a reservation.
I was going to say, we should have never... Right. We should have never started this whole reservation bullcrap in the first place.
Right.
We should have said, look, y'all, if you want to be Americans, you're Americans now.
Yeah, you're Americans. You have every right and privilege.
You're Americans.
Congratulations, you're Americans.
Yep.
It's apartheid. It's the same thing that the South Africans did to the back in the day. That was not good. I understand that the apartheid might have been necessary in some areas, but after a while, that it should have, solved itself and ended. But this is an apartheid and from the Wild West that has been going on to this day. And apartheid in this day and age, natives aren't actively hunting us with bow and arrows and tomahawks, They're just trying to live their lives. In my opinion, there's no difference between them and the average American I see on the street. They're just making their life and their way, going about their business. And then to learn that their small land that, that they've embraced, even though it was, they were forced onto it, they've embraced and made it their own, is being pillaged and ransacked yet again, is a downright outrage.
Right.
And that's and I definitely kind of like there's an issue that comes to hand. Like, let's say worst case scenario that these greenhouses are, trafficking. That's the absolute worst case scenario. The United States police wouldn't be able to do anything, like hardly at all, because again,
right,
that's their nation. And Danae Benali, if there is something extremely sinister going on in these farms, well, good luck getting me. I'm on the reservation again, and he probably lines the pockets of the police. Outright Wild West corruption.
I have to admit, it's actually a well planned out modern crime syndicate.
Yeah, it really is. It's
because you got an alibi. So even if a native guy comes into Farmington and starts like spouting off, "Hey, he's doing this and that and all this," obviously nobody's been listening to him because I just now heard about it.
Right.
Because it's on the reservation. And unfortunately, most people they don't care what happens on the reservation.
Right.
Let's be real.
And it's sad. It is sad because there's a very rich culture over that way, but it's buried under so much corruption and poverty that it just kind of makes my heart sad whenever I go through there. And I feel for these people because they are people. And a lot of people, their heart turns cold towards the drunkards and stuff because there's a lot of them. And I understand that. It's like, well, if my entire nation was completely worthless and I couldn't make money in my own house or anything like that, I might turn to alcoholism as well if I got a free paycheck every month. It's the only thing that feels good anymore. It's the only thing that I can look forward to. I feel nothing but pity for the socialist tyranny that has ripped apart the Navajo people all these years. And it should behoove, and it should get in the heart of every freedom-loving American when tyranny rears its ugly head, that no matter what the race is that's being oppressed, we stand. And that's what I'm doing here, talking about this thing here. And I understand. It's like, well, that's not technically part of the same America and all that, this, that, and the third. I'm not just here for my people. I want socialism across the world to be erased. I want it gone.
Amen.
I want it gone.
Yep, the leftist socialist Democrat dream / communism, which is the same thing, needs to be eradicated.
Yeah, and this is for the betterment of mankind as a whole. And just, the simple fact of freedom. This right now, the reservation, I was like talking to a buddy of mine, he's a Native American, and he said he couldn't even like dig at his own like house that was given to him by the government. He couldn't dig at his house. He couldn't build a fire pit without calling them, like buying some kind of like approval note and all this, it's kind of like, I guess, a building permit. But like, I'm like, well, wait, that's your land, right? That's yours.
Right.
No. And I'm like, well, even I could go out in the back right now and build a fire pit. And I'm like, what is that? And it's a travesty on the whole scheme of human rights, especially in a freedom-loving society like this one.
And that's why it gets run down, because then people, because they're not able to do anything with it, then they just, after a while, they just stop giving a crap. They're like, well, I'm not going to do nothing with it then. Screw it.
Right. Screw this. I'm done with it.
I'm just going to sit around and drink.
Right, or whatever, and it's really, I have a soft spot in my heart. I've grown up next to these oppressed peoples. I've seen their hardships and I've seen their struggles, and I understand their rage, and they, I genuinely feel like they don't entirely know who all to blame. And there's a reason for that. But the puzzles are coming together, especially with this greenhouse thing, where I think we can work together to open both sides' eyes to a very real issue on the Navajo reservation. Which, I can't help but wonder how many politicians of the Navajo reservation might be involved with like Epstein shenanigans, trafficking out towards Zora Ranch. Obviously, they don't care about starving their own people out of water. to fund their pipe dream hemp plants.
Yeah.
So
what else do they not care about?
Yeah, what else do they not care about? There's no doubt in my mind that this Dene Benali fella wouldn't give two shits sending some kids in a white van down South New Mexico to a certain ranch.
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind. Because once you go down a moral dilemma where you do something morally corrupt and you outright knew what you were doing and people are starting to catch on, it starts to become clear the whole slippery slope. How bad have you been? And how bad are you willing to be?
Right.
So that's what I want people to open their eyes to. What's going on in the reservation? The HempHouse troubles.
Yep.
What if there's like a civil war over that way? Dude, could you imagine they like march on Gallup like this like native resistance movement? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Tila.
What is the capital of the Navajos? Is that Shiprock? This has to be Shiprock.
I think it's Shiprock. No. Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Navajo Nation's pretty big because it even goes into Arizona, bro.
Right? Yeah, that's pretty.
There's actually more Navajo Nation on the Arizona side than there is over on our side.
Right. Oh, it's Window Rock. Dur. I knew that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Window Rock is where all the government's
never actually crossed my mind, to be truthful.
All right. Well, that's what Google says. But I mean, going through there, I could definitely kind of see it. It's a very brutalist architecture. Yeah, that's where the government stuff goes on. So, Window Rock, Arizona.
I've heard for years it was a corruption place for drugs and stuff. Like that, a lot of drug dealers, even from back east, I heard, and this is for the the Walter White stuff. What's it called? Meth.
Meth. Wow, I was about to say that's our national fruit, dude.
Yeah. So a lot of meth labs and stuff, unfortunately, is on the reservation again because the law enforcement can't deal with it, and a lot of meth dealers, even from the back east, I've heard, have gone in purposely shacking up and marrying / honeying up to some of these native women because then they can go live on the res and then go do their dealings.
Truly. Yeah, and it's just an interesting predicament, man. It's just going and going and going.
Yeah.
And I saw this and I heard about it and I'm like, wow, this is pretty big news. Why is this being swept under the rug?
Kind of changing gears here a little bit because I think we've covered it. You know who actually I think could have put an end to all this reservation stuff if the people would have brought it to his attention a little bit more? President Reagan.
President Reagan.
And speaking of President Reagan, John,
Mr. President,
he was in the new Call of Duty.
That's an awful transition, man. It's like we're all talking about the corruption and stuff, and it's like in other news, Call of Duty.
Heck yeah! No, I'm giving it. I was feeling a little bit. I was feeling a little bit depressed, man. I was feeling. We need to lighten the show up a little bit.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
The new Call of Duty Cold War is looking based.
Yes, it is.
Granted, like we talked about last show, they got rid of a second's worth of Tiananmen Square in their initial trailer of Know Your History with Yuri Bezmenov, the KGB defector. However,
yes,
their new trailer, again, is a spit in the face of communists across this nation. They got Reagan up in here.
Yes,
talking
right.
about we need to get this Soviet spy out of here.
I want you to use any means necessary,
and they do
to get rid of this communist regime.
And it's excellent. Like I was really excited to see Reagan. I was like, he's back. I can almost smell that old man Musk.
Old man Musk.
Yeah, you know how old men smell.
You must have known Reagan way better than I did. I mean,
I wish.
Considering you weren't even born yet.
I'd go gay for Reagan.
You go gay for Reagan. I gotta admit, I mean, I got you know how when Obama got elected, Bill Maher said that he had kind of a thrill go up his leg. I kind of had that, maybe almost that same thrill when I saw Reagan's adaptation in the Call of
Yeah,
Duty.
dude, because I saw this dude
Yeah.
pop in. I was like, oh, what president is that going to be? Because I was like, man, it's the 50s, 60s. It's Black Ops, I played Black Ops a lot. And it turns around to show Reagan, and I just, like, about dropped my phone. I was like, wow, that's so sick. I am pre-ordering this. Actually,
They did a good job at it, too. Like, it looks like him, like, perfect.
And any conservative American really loves Reagan. With his criticisms, I understand. He has... But that all kind of leads to, it's like, I don't think he fully understood the situation, which doesn't make you unaccountable. Because Trump has done some things where I'm like, what the hell are you thinking, dude? Reagan did some things with the guns, like the whole fully automatic stuff,
another guy we was talking about that the other day, and he had a good point too. I mean, I mentioned, he didn't fully understand, I think, what was going on with that, and if the American people would have stood up and talked to him, I think maybe he would have, had a different viewpoint and understood it better. But also, a friend of mine said, well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why nobody stood up. And I said, well, why? He said, because everybody was doing good financially. Everything was going great. Taxes were low. People were working. He said people were going about their lives. And so they didn't feel like it was something to get indignant over. Because you already had the 1934 Act, which made you where you had to have this $200 tax stamp. And in 1980, $200 was a lot more money than $200 is today.
Right.
And so there still wasn't very many people registering these machine guns.
Right. Well, by all means, I liked his approach to, like, Afghanistan. Instead of starting, Vietnam, Afghanistan edition and sending boys over there to fight Soviets, he was like, well, let's fund these guys, which wouldn't have been a problem. A lot of people hold the modern conflicts on Reagan. I'm like, well, it wouldn't have been a problem if we would have just stayed out of that area. And when they attacked us, to have just won. And when we had to go fight them back, if it wasn't just an oil thing from the Bush family for Halliburton. I know that sounds like a hippie thing to say, but that's factual, dude. The entire reason, and this is no reason that, like, if we're going to go over there just for oil, we had better freaking take the oil and the nation. I'm just saying that. I'm not against going for a country for resources, but, dude, we have got to win. Like, you can't just
We should have used our nuclear weapons.
Old Bush, man. I get a kick out of that guy. But yeah, Call of Duty, Cold War, who knows? It'll be pretty cool. It might, especially, and the reason we talk about it on the show, like video games, right? There's all this crap going on in the world, and you're talking about video games? Well, here's the thing about it. Video games are a useful tool for teaching. And I know a lot of people rot your brain away. I think a lot of the reason that a lot of younger people are so opinionated is possibly video games. If not video games and television, same thing. It's a media, books, back before any of this existed.
Meeting some of the younger generation, the like, a little bit young, well, kind of your age, but also a little bit younger, more like IT's age, it actually gives me hope that I think that younger generation is going to be further right than almost any generation we've seen. And I think a lot of that is due to video games.
Yeah, and truly, because, well, you kind of get to make your own decisions in video games. And when you get to make your own decisions, well, it kind of teaches you something about yourself. And I think that, a lot of gamers, as funny as it is, gamers rise up, are some of the greatest of this generation's philosophers in some degree. Don't go calling yourself a philosopher if all you've done is play video games, But what I'm saying is, at least they've kind of had a simulation of making their own decisions. They're not reading or watching a pre-scripted event. They're planning things. They're, cognitive skills. As well as, so often, video games are ruined because some whacknut feminist or transvestite type wanted to go and put their agenda into it. Last of Us 2. For
Yeah.
example, just weird stuff. And they're like, why couldn't we just be left alone? And I think that's kind of like one of the main reasons that so many young people are kind of waking up to this whole agenda and thing that's been going on in higher up places that are getting involved with politics, is because they would have been content just playing video games and not doing a dang thing with their lives, until they started messing with them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they kind of shot themselves in the foot, the elite, by reaching literally every media platform. Because it was like, we just wanted to be left alone and play our video game, said the gamer. And now he's a radical right-winger. So
well, and also as technology has gotten better and better, where these video games, the graphics is getting better and better, as these young gamers grow up, they're kids and they're shooting AKs. They're in the game. They're shooting M16, M4 variants, which can be translated to AR-15s. They're shooting all these different Benelli shotguns, all this different stuff. And then when yes, Benelli.
I know Benelli. That's the Italian ones. Don't get confused. You got Benelli and Benelli. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. But so you got all these different firearms, and when they turn 18, 21, they start thinking, what would it be like to shoot one of those in real life? And so you got all these people, these kids, coming in to these gun shops, and I've talked to FFL dealers, and they straight up have gotten this. Like, hey, he said there's this kid that this young kid that looks like he doesn't know anything, and maybe he doesn't know anything about the whole safety aspect of it, but he knows the names of these guns. And it's because of video games. Yeah. And so then, as a responsible FFL dealer, you tell them, hey, this here, but I really want you to go and get a firearm safety course. The NRA puts those on for free here, and he'll give them the information. And so it's I love it that video games have been breeding a new generation of gun owners.
Right. And that's the thing too. It's like, imagine a game where you're just a normal city life, and you could walk around and that sort of thing, but you couldn't defend yourself. It would be It would be awful. Everyone.
Imagine walking through GTA with no gun.
Right, GTA 5 Online. Except you can't own a gun because you're a law-abiding citizen. You can't have RPGs like everybody else. It'd be miserable. You'd just be sitting there completely dumbfounded. You'd be worthless. It wouldn't be fun, and it wouldn't be very productive because you couldn't even defend yourself as you went to work or whatever. Granted, in GTA you're doing illegal things anyway. It's not a game about law abiding, but let's just say a city simulator, and there was these muggers, and you could get mugged in an alleyway, and you had no way of defending yourself.
So it's a Chicago simulator, is what it is.
Right. Let's put it that way. Liberty City. Hey, New York boys, speak up. But anyways, with all that, I think we've covered mostly everything. Oh, well, Fall Guys, I guess we could talk about that old thing. Kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, we could talk about
Not really
Fall
teaching
Guys
anything useful. That game is not educational.
It looks like fun, though.
And we're purely just kind of goofing off with this, but Fall Guys, I got it for free on my PlayStation Plus account because they have months. It was free last month, so I grabbed it, and I heard a lot about it. It's a very, very, very popular game, just exceedingly popular, and I was like, well, what's all the hype? So I started playing it with a buddy of mine. And the game is very clearly designed for everyone. It's an E for everyone game, even for children. But I found myself working up a sweat, screaming at the TV in pure passion that I wanted me or my buddy to make it. So the concept of it, So there was an old Japanese show, or Wipeout, if you've seen Wipeout. It's a television series that involved an obstacle course where somebody has to run from point A to point B over obstacles and things like punching them, moving them around, knocking them into water or whatever. And in the case of Fall Guys, it's the same thing, except there's like 30 people running a mad rat race all at once. Tensions are high. I gotta say, just as it's kind of like. It was really fun. Like, for a short moment, I forgot about all the existential dread going on in the world. And I was just screaming at a freaking video game like I was 11 years old. You know, like, I was... I'm not going to say it's the best game ever made by any means. Like, I've played a lot funner games. But, like, with friends, that one's hard to beat. Like, Mario Kart gets pretty heated. But like this one was a ton of fun with friends.
You ever play Mario Party?
Yeah, Mario Party is kind of like the same thing in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're sitting there, you're like, oh, you sucker, you know.
I could see this being the same way. But the cool thing about this is, of course, maybe the later Mario Parties is too. I mean, last Mario Party I played was like for N64. But this is like online play, right?
Indeed, yeah, it usually is. It is online play. I don't know if it has split screen or not. I haven't tried that. It might. So it would kind of fall flat in its face as like a LAN party game, like that Mario Kart would be, where you're just like on one screen, or Mario Party or whatever. Which I do love party games. I would like to see a resurgence in that, personally, because like I do miss playing on a couch with a bunch of people. Switch
it brings people together.
I don't want to lower myself. I don't want to lower myself to be such a soy cuck that, you know, my wife's boyfriend gets me a Nintendo Switch. You know, I'm not into that. You could keep that Nintendo Switch to yourself, guys. I'm good.
My mother-in-law bought mine, so I'm good.
Right, but like, it's so common. It's the most like. I don't know what the connection is. It's usually like the most pathetic, testosterone suckers that are so proud of their Switch.
Sadly, the Nintendo system has always kind of pandered towards a younger crowd, and then nowadays that younger crowd it's been transitioned into the kids in the 90s and maybe early 2000s that played like Pokemon, and now they're 30-something and they're still living with their parents and they still want to play Pokemon.
Right.
And there's a lot of Pokemon on Nintendo. And I'm sorry, but that is the individual that plays Switch for the most part.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just Nintendo for like adults, but... The whole party thing, Nintendo's got all of the companies beat. So maybe...
Oh, they do. They do.
You know, that's one of the things. It's like, dang it, to get a decent party game, I gotta go grab a Nintendo. Granted, there's a few fun ones, but I wouldn't so much call them fully developed games as much as like a combo.
Although...
Like Jack in the Box.
Split screen... And they never did a four-way because PlayStation... for some odd reason, never made it to where you could plug 4 controllers in, which always kind of irked me.
PlayStation 2, I used to have one of those...
Did you have a splitter?
Yeah, dude, I got that. Me and like all my cousins would come over and we'd all play friggin' Time Splitters for the PS2.
You and your cousins, got it.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
That sounds like fun. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so I always thoroughly enjoyed, and this I guess was the closest maybe like party game for Nintendo, is playing Twisted Metal with some people.
Dude, PlayStation was dope with Twisted Metal,
yeah.
Dude. Oh.
Yeah.
Childhood memories galore.
I had some very good memories with friends over playing Twisted Metal.
That was the first game I have ever played, was Twisted Metal in my youth years, probably starting at 3 years old. I was playing Twisted Metal. I loved Twisted Metal 4. I never really played the story. I didn't really care about it. It was like, I'm in a car blowing stuff up, and you know, my dad's doing it, my sister's doing it, and we're all blowing stuff up all over the place in this, at the time, very, you know, advanced world.
I don't remember exactly what my first PlayStation game, like, ever.
I know that
I think it was. Well, it wasn't my first though.
Yeah.
I think Tomb Raider was the first game I ever played on PlayStation. The first. Yeah, the first Tomb Raider.
Keep in mind, like me and you, we're like 10 years apart. Everybody, just let you know, like me and Warspirit have a huge age gap.
Yeah, I was like older teen when I got a PlayStation.
I was born like the same year that the PlayStation came out. Like the first game I like.
That just makes me.
Yeah.
That makes me feel old.
Right. You freaking geezer.
Oh, that's good
it's kind of
stuff.
funny. We can actually kind of go into like the origins of how me and this guy met. I met him at a kids' church, Sunday school, basically. On Sundays, he would teach me at my age that I'm at now. Back in the day, he would teach me and other kids all about Jesus and stuff. And he had these puppets, and I remember them well. He had this one which I want to bring back because he still has it. His name is Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pedro the donkey. And Pedro, apparently, he's going to be cursed. Pedro, we need to get an eye patch for him because he's lost an eye, but he's still.
He
around.
did. He's gonna be cursed, Pedro.
Yeah,
But this Pedro, I will let you guys know, is not for red flag laws.
No, not at all. And so I'm looking forward to Pedro. I'm looking forward to all kinds of like the camel. If you could get a hold of that other guy, I don't want to say his name on here, but see if you can find that camel.
You don't want to say Ace's name?
No, you can say Ace, but I wasn't. I was talking about the church individual that you worked with.
Well, no, not the individual. Yeah. I got you. I thought you meant Asadullah Bagashli Abshar.
Yeah, that, and that'd be a lot of fun.
and for all of you, it's easy to break down. Say Asadullah Bagashlui Abshar.
Right. And it was a total God thing. It was so funny because I grew up, and for the most part, Warspirit, like he was there and he was gone. I didn't even know he's still in the area for myself, really. I think I might have ran into him a few times, but I probably didn't recognize him. As time went on, and then there was this the sheriff of this town, Sheriff Ferrari. He took a stand against the governor, saying that any new gun laws that are unconstitutional will not be enforced in San Juan County. And that's when I ran into him again. Like, after all these years, that's when I ran into Warspirit. And I didn't really remember exactly who he was entirely. I think I did, yeah. I was like, it didn't really click that you were my, former Sunday school dude. But it was like later on I started doing the show by myself, and he like messages me, like I don't remember if he messaged me on Facebook or like called me or whatever, but you were like, hey, I would like to be on the show. And originally we were just gonna be like, yeah, he's just a guest. It was just a total God thing.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Like now it's like this show isn't the show without Warspirit, Evigilans, and IT. I hope you come back, man. This has been like the 4th show without you, brother. We miss you. I know you didn't always have.
Beginning to think you had information on Hillary Clinton,
right?
And we're worried about you.
Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be looking for our Shemp, or alternatively our Curly, for the time being, to more or less see about getting someone who would be a third input for the show. Right. So. Thank you, everybody, for listening this evening. I notice it's about 10:56 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I really appreciate everybody who joins. Whether you agree with us fully or not, I really do appreciate you guys joining in and having your way and inputting things and just starting a conversation in the comments. If you haven't pushed this show, don't be, outside of your comfort zone by all means, but I would love it. Because we're going to start doing things here soon. We've been talking about plans of getting a donation board set up, and as well as a merch shop going where you can buy like bumper stickers. I think would be the first big thing that we need to do. But we're going to start being able to make money off of this stuff, and we're
going to be doing. In fact, we're working on some stuff right now, or where we have been. We're going to be doing some parodies on songs. We're going to be doing some skits. I'm hoping we get one out by Halloween. It's going to be a Halloween special. That's going to be really cool.
Right.
We got some good stuff, and see, I'm saying it on the air, so I'm putting John on the spot now. So now we have to do it. See,
Right. No kidding.
I just pulled the guy from Doom on you.
Right. We need to do it by this date. Yeah.
So real quick, video game history for you guys. The makers of Doom. He, the main guy, and he's a little bit weird. He wears the black nail polish to this day and everything, but that's neither here nor there. Him and his buddies, there was pretty much 5 people total that made the first Doom. And he knew that his buddies were really good coders, really good programmers, but they were really slack. They would start something, they wouldn't finish it. And so, but he knew that they were competitive, but also that they needed a deadline. And so one morning they go into their little office that they're kind of working on this game on, and he's all, "Hey, how you guys doing?" They're like, "Good." He's all, "So I sent basically all of AOL, because back then this was just AOL where you could message everybody, a message." And he's like, "Really? What did you send everybody?" That we was going to have the game in 3 months. You did what? And the end of the message actually is what they made the first disc of the game, so the first 9 levels, which is awesome, knee deep and dead. He said, "But in 3 months, you will enjoy the new game Doom, and you will be knee deep and dead."
It's cool stuff, man. So, with that, I bid you... Oh, actually, Warspirit, could you go ahead and lead us out in prayer, my friend?
Yes, sir. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Father, and we just we thank you, Lord, for giving us this opportunity, Lord, to be able to do this podcast. Lord, thank you that we live in the United States of America, where we have a First Amendment right to be doing what we're doing right now, Lord. And Lord, I thank you for John and for IT when he's been on here with all of his expertise and stuff, and just I pray that you would bless them, Lord. Lord, touch them right now, Lord, and just bless them, Father God. Many blessings upon them, Lord. Lord, I pray that right now for the listeners right now, that whatever they got going on in their lives, Lord, that you would just bless them, Lord, and that you would just that we would all, as a nation, Lord Jesus, come closer to you. Lord, I pray for our nation, Lord, that you would just you would guide us and keep us, Lord. Don't turn your back on this nation, Lord, because I know that there's the world is some of the people in the world here in this nation are turning their backs on you, Lord, but there are still a number of believers that love you, Father God. And I pray that you would just continue to bless the United States of America. Lord, we pray for President Donald Trump today. And we pray, Lord, that he would be indeed reelected. And we just pray that you would bless him and he would come to know you. Lord, lastly, Lord, for tonight, we pray for the Navajo people, Lord, and for their nation. That you would do a work in all this corruption, Lord. Lord, I pray for Dene Benali, Lord. I know we called him out and talked a lot of trash about him tonight. Most of it, it's true. But Lord, I pray for him right now, Lord, that he would come to know you, Lord Jesus, and you would change his heart, Lord, in Jesus' name. We ask for all this in your precious holy name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, as always, Warspirit, for joining me this evening. I'll go ahead and begin the outro. Good night, everybody.